Lesson 6.2, Solve inequalities using multiplication and division. How do you solve inequalities using multiplication and division? Well, when solving an inequality, you must always reverse the inequality sign whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number. So the first inequality here we have to solve is m divided by 8 is less than or equal to negative 2. Well, we will treat this just as if it were an equation we were solving. If you divide by 8, you have to undo that by multiplying both sides by 8. The 8's cancel each other out on the left side. We're left with m is less than or equal to negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. Now we must number the number line, starting with negative 16 in the middle. Once we finish numbering the number line, then we place a dot in the middle at negative 16. Now we must have a closed dot here because it is less than or equal to. And we shade the graph to the left side of negative 16 because it is all the numbers that are less than or equal to negative 16. Now we have to solve 5x is greater than 35. 5x is 5 times x, so to undo multiplication, we divide both sides by 5. Left side, the 5's cancel out. We're left with x is greater than 7. So we put 7 in the middle of our number line, fill in the rest of the numbers. Then we put an open circle at 7 because it's strictly greater than, and it's all the numbers greater than 7, so we shade into all the numbers to the right side of 7. Now we have x divided by negative 4 is greater than 12. Because we're dividing by negative 4, we must undo that to isolate x, so we multiply both sides by negative 4. On the left side, the negative 4's cancel each other out. We're left with x. Now we must flip the inequality because we multiply by a negative. X is less than negative 48. Again, we start our numbering on the number line in the middle with negative 48, and we fill in the rest of the number line. Then we put an open circle at negative 48, and it's all the numbers that are less than negative 48, so we shade all the numbers to the left side of negative 48. Negative 5y is greater than or equal to 45. And negative 5y is negative 5 times y, so we undo multiplication by dividing both sides by negative 5. The left side, the negative 5's cancel each other out. We're left with y. When you divide by a negative, you must flip the inequality, less than or equal to. 45 divided by negative 5 is negative 9. So y is less than or equal to negative 9. So we number the number line with negative 9 in the middle. Then we must put a closed circle at negative 9, and it is all the numbers that are less than or equal to negative 9, so that would be all the numbers to the left side. Z divided by negative 7 is less than 7. Here we're dividing by negative 7, so we undo that by multiplying both sides by negative 7. The left side, the negative 7's cancel each other out. We're left with z. When you multiply by a negative, you must flip the inequality, and 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. So z is greater than negative 49. Now we number the number line by putting negative 49 in the middle and fill in the rest of the number line. Then we must put an open circle at negative 49 because it is strictly greater than, and we shade in the right side of the graph because it's all the numbers greater than negative 49. Six y is greater than 42. 6y is 6 times y. So to undo multiplication, we divide both sides by 6. The left side, the 6 cancel each other out. We're left with y is greater than 7. Now we must fill in the number line by putting 7 in the middle, because that's the number we're starting with. Now we put an open circle at 7 because it's strictly greater than, and it's all the numbers to the right side of 7. Now we have the opposite of w divided by 5 is less than 2. Now here we're dividing by 5, so we undo division by multiplying both sides by 5. But we must also get rid of the negative sign in front of the w divided by 5. So we multiply both sides by negative 5. Here the negatives cancel each other out on the left and the 5s cancel each other out, and we're left with the w. But now when you divide by a negative, remember you have to flip the inequality so its w is greater than negative 10. Now we fill out the numbers on the number line, again by putting negative 10 in the middle, fill in the rest of the numbers. Now we must put a circle at negative 10, and it's an open circle because it's greater than, and we shade to the right because it's all the numbers greater than negative 10. A word problem. A student pilot plans to spend 80 hours on flight training to earn a private license. The student has saved $6,000 for training. Write an inequality that you could use to find the possible hourly rates are that the student can afford to pay for training. What are the possible hourly rates that the student can afford to pay for training? Well, here, first thing we should always do in a word problem is locate what the question is. What are they asking for? Here they're asking for the possible hourly rates that the student can afford to pay for the training. What information are we given that could help us with that? Well, we are given that we need 80 hours of training. We saved $6,000 for the training, and we will use R to represent the hourly rate of the training. So if we list that information that we identified as valuable that we need, we have 80 hours of training. That's how many hours of training we need. We have a total of $6,000 saved. So we have $6,000 is the amount that we can spend on training. Last we have R, the rate per hour that we can afford to spend on flight training. Now to write the inequality, we know we can spend a maximum of $6,000. So we'll start out by writing down $6,000. Now we have to spend either less than that or equal to that amount. Well, we know we need 80 hours of training, and the hourly rate we do not know, so that would be R. So it would be 80 times R, which would be 80R. So 80R is less than or equal to $6,000. Now we just solve the inequality for R by dividing both sides by 80, and the hourly rate that we can afford to spend is $75.